It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
Here we are again, another episode of Cats Talk Wednesday. Vinny Hardy here outside Knoxville, joined by Devondre Campbell Sr.
I can't believe that man quit, man. Just what a janky season, man. What a janky season that we've had. Like, if you look at the metrics, the Niners are right there with the Chiefs and other playoff teams. They're just 1-5 and one-score games. Like, it's just the juice is gone. But yeah, man, you can't quit.
I couldn't pass it up, man. So you got the Niners. Like George Kittle, who's never mad, was even mad. You know, that's
oh yeah.
All because Kinlaw came back. He was pouting, right? That's it.
But he knew that going in. I mean, that was the thing going in, was Greenlaw is the dude, and when he comes back,
I said Kinlaw. Oops, my fault.
But we got Kinlaw too. We got Javon Kinlaw, but we got a lot of laws on there. But that was the thing, because Greenlaw is a beast, and he showed it on Thursday night. 8 tackles in the first half, and then he got a little tired because his first game back. But I'm telling you, man, before he got hurt in the Super Bowl, he had Travis Kelsey in jail. You can check the tape. You can see Travis Kelsey didn't start doing that stuff until after Greenlaw got hurt. So it was one of them snake bit things. But yeah, man, when everybody knew when Greenlaw was coming back, him and Warner are the two, man. But dude got in his feelings.
Yeah. I know I threw a curveball to start off. I know we're leading off with the main thing. You got to keep the main thing. The main thing is Cats over Cards. We got Mark's story from the Herald Leader coming on here in a few minutes. We'll send him the email. But you and your youngest daughter were there in person to see Pope v. Kelsey, Cats v. Cards, the new chapter in the rivalry, if you will. And the Cats come out on top. Same result. New chapter, same result.
Look, man, it was great. My youngest, I have taken her to, as you can see the stuff over my shoulders here. We've done gymnastics, we've done volleyball, we've done softball and baseball and soccer. And she said she wanted to go to the Kentucky-Louisville men's basketball game. That's the kind of the premier thing, right? I know volleyball programs are better, but Kentucky is a basketball school. Louisville's a basketball school, men's basketball specifically, right? So she wanted to go, so we went. She also has a plan to go to the University of Kentucky, so that tickled me very well. So we went, got some tickets, and it was a good atmosphere. I said, this is what it's all about. We had a great old time. Did not get any ice cream, but just had a great old time, man. Just I felt like my dad a little bit because I'm pointing out how stuff used to be. Like them seats used to be yellow and orange, and the vents used to be red. And I showed her a picture of Big Bertha, and she was like, "How long ago were you in school?" And I just told her some of this stuff is new, the eruption zone and stuff after I was done, and so she. She thought she was being funny. We were on the end of Rupp by the banners, and she's like, "Which was 78? Was that the one you were in school for?" I said, "Okay."
She didn't. No, she didn't.
Yeah. Maybe 84. I said, no. Let me point to the 3, right? Let me be specific. But had a great time. But as you alluded to, it's the same stuff, man. Like, I've seen national people like. For me personally, the hatred, the vitriol, the back and forth between the fans, the Kentucky-Louisville rivalry is near the top. But the problem is we didn't play for a long time, right? It's kind of criminal that the 78 championship team and their 80 championship team paths didn't cross, right? Like that. feels like a miss. Like we should have got Wes Unseld and Rups Runs playing. Like that should have happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have that. Also working against the games are just not aesthetically pleasing, especially here the last 20 years. Louisville's game plan is to muck it up, which I don't knock them. That's how they're going to win, but they're just not pleasing games, right? They're just not. And the biggest reason is Louisville doesn't win.
Yep.
I mean, what 3-14 over the last 17, and those have been by 3-point wins. The overtime win against the 13 NIT game, and the 3-point win over the non-win COVID year. Like, that's not a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. And so it's like Tennessee football, Kentucky football. Like, in our minds, it's a rivalry, but the Tennessee fan, like, where's the rivalry part?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And so I just look, they got a good coach. Kelsey's fine. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to do big things. But to hear them tell it, Louisville fans tell it, he's going to be the one to take the rivalry back. Back to where? What are you talking about? Listen, Vinny. University of Louisville has had 2 Hall of Fame coaches under its employ. Denny Crum, 2 national championships, was 7-12 against Kentucky. Rick Pitino, I'm gonna give him that one. He was 6-13. Peck Hickman, I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, but their longtime great coach before Crum, he beat Kentucky in the 1959 Elite Eight, but he also finished 1-2. So what, pray tell, is Kelsey going to do that 2 Hall of Famers couldn't do? They can be great, and I'm not saying that he may get them to the Final Four, but we are never, and I'm going to say never, going to see a situation where Louisville beats Kentucky on a consistent basis. We've never seen it. Their best 10-year stretch in this rivalry, they were 4-6, and that was during the Tubby years.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so that's Pitino going 4-6 while Tubby was there. 40% is the best.
Is their best. So it's like everything else that we see when it comes to basketball, right? When it comes to men's basketball, this is what happens, right? There's a stretch where the opposing team, like Louisville, maybe they go 4-6, maybe they go 5-5, like Tennessee, and they point to that as some kind of, we have caught you, ignoring everything else.
Right.
Ignoring everything else that's come before. And the thing is, they should understand this concept, because I see a bunch of Louisville fans, they beat their chest because they won football. And this is always how it's supposed to go. They understand that concept, but don't understand when it comes to men's basketball. It's not close. They've never won 3 games in a row. Again, you've never seen it. Never, ever.
Yeah.
And I know the rivalry, we didn't play for a long time, but the last 40 years, that's a long time.
It is.
And the last time they won 2 straight, what did we do? Billy G got to go. Our response was Coach Cal, John Wall, Cousins, but like that team. Like, again, I am not saying Kelsey can't have success. Crum had success, because when I was growing up, Louisville was probably the premier program in the country between 80 and 86. 2 titles, 2 additional Final Fours, the Doctors of Dunk. They were the peak, man. I know Hoya Paranoia was there. I get that. But when I was a kid, they was the top. And now here we are in 2024, and y'all talking about, well, we only lost by 8 on the road. We got to feel. No, look, man. Daryl Griffith did not do all that stuff for y'all to be talking about how close the game was against Kentucky. That's loser talk.
Yeah.
Well, we only had 7 guys. We only played like 7 guys. We ain't have no backup point guard. Love Travis Perry, but hey, the best thing he can do right now is give Butler a breather.
That's what he was doing, and
right,
he was like,
love him,
yeah,
right.
And that's valuable experience for later,
right.
And Chucky Hepburn knew, okay, a true freshman coming in here,
food, right?
Yeah. And
so I don't want to hear it. It's loser talk. Well, we was at home. We was in. It's always corrupt arena, right? It's always. I know you've heard that. It's always that. It's always something, man. Kentucky wins. It's never the Kentucky's a better team. Never. Well, did you look at the fouls? Well, did you look at this? Like, we won 4-5 in the football series. Well, it doesn't count because Satterfield was the coach and blah, 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 blah. Like, just take your whooping. Like, Kentucky's just never better. There's always something that they can latch on to. Well, we shot the free throw. Like, I don't care. Did you win? You're the University of Louisville. In my book, a top 10 program of all time. And this is what you're reduced to?
And we got to keep this going. Our guest is backstage.
Yeah, bring him on for crazy.
Writes for the Lexington Herald Leader. He's also an author. We got to talk about that. The 2023 Kentucky Sports Writer of the Year, and we have to see how many he's won. Look, friend of the show, Mark Story, is backstage, who is well versed in this Kentucky Louisville rivalry. So let's bring him in right now. Mr. Story, how are you, sir?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure to have you on.
Yes, yeah. So as you can tell, we were just recapping Saturday and another chapter in the rivalry. Some new characters, Hope and Kelsey, but the same result at the end of the day. So that's where
I thought it was an important, anytime you have a coaching transition, and especially in the rare instance of both teams in a coaching transition, I think these early games are important. If you're Kentucky, you're trying to, just maintain the status quo and continue to dominate the rivalry. And if you're Louisville, you're trying to break through and turn this thing. And I think for Kelsey, I think the game next year is humongous for Pat Kelsey. Because if you're Louisville and you've been so dominated, and they have been dominated, your first step in turning that around is to protect your home court. Mm-hmm. I mean, the way this thing is gone, Kentucky wins all its home games and wins about half of the Louisville home games. So your first step, if you're trying to turn that, is to protect your home court.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that is because if he falls to 0-2, that doesn't portend well. Like I was saying to Vinny, they've had great coaches at Louisville, championship coaches, but they can't consistently beat Kentucky. That's the rub. Crum couldn't do it. Pitino couldn't do it. Peck Hickman couldn't do it. They get all these accolades, but they can't beat Kentucky no matter what happens. Who's coaching?
Yeah, I think Denny was 7-13 against Kentucky, and Rick was 6-12.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah.
So what's that? 13 and 25.
Yeah,
roughly. Ooh. And when you really let that sink in, and I always tell the story, Mark, about how the other rival down here in Tennessee, you're probably at Thompson Bowling Arena that night. They honored Ray Mears. They brought him out. He was towards the end. They recognized him at halftime of the Kentucky game because they do all their big recognizing of everybody at the halftime of the Kentucky game. So they brought Ray out. Bob Kessling's there on the mic, and he's in all his years at Tennessee, against the Big Blue, he in 30 games against Kentucky, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, he's gonna say, I'm wincing. I'm like, wow, did he go 17-13 against Rupp? 16-14? Surely not 18-12. In all those 30 games against the Big Blue, he went 15-15. And I almost chuckled there in the stands around all the Tennessee fans. I'm like, they are propping him up for going 500 against us. I'm like, yeah. So
for an SEC basketball coach, that was really good.
Exactly.
And Tennessee really had Kentucky's number for a time in the 70s. And then Kentucky had, really hard time beating them in Knoxville. In fact, Joe Hall was funny when they decided they were going to, move out of Stokely Athletic Center and they were going to blow it up. They were going to just, destroy it so they could, rebuild. Joe said they ought to invite me down there to push the button because nobody had more misery.
So, I mean, when you look at that, 15-15, I mean, 13-25 for Denny and Rick, 500 looks pretty good, considering that angle. I mean, goodness.
Yeah.
So speaking of all the changes, kind of where are you on Pope? We're 11 games in, looking to get Ohio State. We all know that when Cal left, it was kind of a who's next kind of thing. And then Pope comes in a little. I'll look, Vinny, I'll own it. I was not thrilled, but here we are, almost December, almost Christmas time, and he's hitting a lot of right notes. It's hard to argue that he hasn't just kind of slid in because he knows the assignment. Where are you on that, Mr. Story?
Yeah, it's gone about as well as anybody could have reasonably hoped. Now, in some ways, I don't think the job really starts until you face some adversity. You lose a game you shouldn't lose. Mm-hmm. Maybe they lost that at Clemson, but I don't think that was such a horrible loss that people were upset. You drop a couple in a row, you lose a recruit the fans thought you should get. I mean, to me, to some extent, that's when the job starts because you see how you handle the adversity. But to this point, I mean, I don't think it could have gone any better. I mean, he's 11 games in. He came here and inherited no scholarship players, had to completely rebuild his team. And in 11 games, he's beaten Duke, he's beaten Gonzaga, he's beaten Louisville, and he's in the top 5 in the AP poll. I mean, I don't know how much better it could get. And the other thing I think he's been really good at, because he played here, he understands the program, and he knows how to talk to the fans. And, that's not a small thing.
Yeah, because he stayed after the Louisville game. I mean, there were a lot of people in the stands for the post-game show. Like, I kind of bristle when people are like, oh, he gets it. But I'm like, he kind of does get it a little bit. With the fans, he kind of does understand what's going on, particularly coming off of the downturn where the program was.
Yeah, as I said, he knows how to talk to the fans. I mean, he gets it. He understands the program. I think he understands how the fans feel and think and see things. And he's good at communicating with them.
I know there's, and everybody's gonna feel how they want to feel about it. There's a lot of people that want to take every good thing and immediately compare it to the tail end of Cal. We'll see how much better it is, and and maybe look at what Cal's doing too much or compare and contrast too much. Everybody's gonna do how they want to do and feel how they want to feel and move on however they want to move on. I asked Aaron Gershon this other day, so I'm going to ask you, now that you've had those 11 games, a new coach is kind of like a whole new beat for guys that cover the team. So when it comes to, asking questions or interactions, have you changed how you ask Mark Pope questions as opposed to the way you did Cal, or do you approach it any differently? You just still, do it the same way? How do you approach it?
Nothing's changed for me. I will say what's changed. I do think Mark is more likely to answer the question that's asked. I think with Calipari, his is a marketing focus. So whatever his marketing talking points were, that was what he was going to talk about, regardless of what he was asked. And I do think Mark, tries to answer the questions as asked.
See, I asked Aaron that, and I said, have you changed your approach of how you ask questions? He said, I can just ask a question now. He said, used to, I would have to ask something to try to entice Cal to answer exactly what I'm wanting to ask. Because, he'll say what he's going to say about whatever, no matter what you ask. And now that, I guess that seems to be the clear difference from everybody that's covering him on a daily basis.
I think that is a difference. And, I think with, Calipari, he was a salesman, and whatever his talking points were, that was what he was that's what he was putting out. And it really didn't, we used to joke that, we should instead of asking specific questions, we should have just said, would you just please talk about whatever it is you're going to talk about?
Exactly. Now, did you this cross country deal, this Clemson Seattle deal? Did you do one or both, or how did
I did not. I did not have to make that. I don't know how you get to Clemson. I've never actually been there, and with the interstates knocked out, going down, around Asheville. I guess what you go down to Atlanta and come across maybe.
Yeah, or some having to go up like to like Bluefield and then go down that way. I'm not sure because we've got our niece is outside of Savannah. Normally you just go to Asheville, Augusta,
Right.
Columbia, Augusta, and we're going all the way through Atlanta, all the way 75, and then heading over because it is a lot of people. You saw me tweeting out stuff, Terry. People didn't really realize how rough it was over there.
Yeah.
I was tweeting out, T-Dot, North Carolina DOT picks, and it was Asheville got just wrecked. It sure did. But,
I don't know. Of course, I guess you can fly over all that and take that out of play, but
yeah.
Right. Well, the other basketball program has had a little bit of resurgence as well. It's like both programs have kind of shaken off a bad couple of seasons and are pointed in the right direction. And Kenny Brooks has things rolling in historic Memorial Coliseum. I didn't forget the H this time, Vinny. Historic Memorial Coliseum. I'm not sure what made it more historic than when we were there. Although my daughter said because you were there 30 years ago, which true but painful. But Coach Brooks has got a good thing going with his squad as well.
Yeah, this is another case where it's gone about as well as you could have reasonably expected, and it's such a different team. I mean, even when Matthew Mitchell had it rolling, and they were really good. It was a guard-oriented, full court press. They really struggled to recruit height. Now it's just the complete reversal. I mean, they are so long, and they go 6'4", 6'5", 6'3" across the front line. Have a 6'7" girl coming off the bench, and while they have two really good veteran guards, they're not very deep in the backcourt. It's just a complete reversal from what Kentucky women's basketball has recently been. So that too is a coach that's done so far has done a really, really good job.
We had Macy Morris on here right before the season started. And that was the first thing I couldn't wait to ask her, her thoughts on all the sizes coming in. And of course, she was glad to see it, but also wishing she could have had some of that in her time. Because she said, I look at this team and she said, look, I remember being down there banging with Asia Wilson. She said, that was not where I wanted to be.
Take one for the team. Let me block her out.
Yeah, it's a complete reversal. They had two players get injured that I think both had a chance to start, and both were kind of wing players. They really don't have, I guess Lexi Blue, hopefully the freshman develops and becomes kind of a wing. But yeah, they basically have short guards and really tall. It's a very interesting team.
Yeah, and we got Claire Strack and Key coming over from North Carolina. They're versatile. I think she's more physical than you think. As far as mixing it up and blocking shots, because she seems kind of thin, kind of wiry, but she's down there holding her own more so than you'd expect. I know she's 6'4", but you think you can just kind of give her an elbow or something like that. And there.
Well, she just had so many injury problems at North Carolina. She came up here and got healthy, and she's played really well. And obviously, Clara Strack, other than the North Carolina game, has just been pretty tremendous. And Amelia Hassett is much more. I thought she was just a shooter, but her rebounding numbers have been terrific. That front line is good.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. So
we've got to turn the page also to Coach Stoops and the football program. Kind of where are you on where this program is? What can Do you think Stoops, if you could wave a magic wand for Stoops to kind of get back on track, what would be your off-season wish list?
The job 1, 2, and 3 is to try to fix the offensive line. I mean, that's to me, well, there have been two big differences in really the last 3 years, and kind of the vintage Mark Stoops teams, the 10-win teams, the better teams from the bowl streak. The offensive line is a big part of that. They just, the vintage Big Blue Wall, they could impose their will physically. They could run the ball. They could close games out. They got a lead. They could run it out, and they haven't been able to do that, and that's really hurt them. To me, the other thing that's changed, and I don't, I have a theory, but I don't know what. I just don't think they've been nearly as disciplined a football team the last 3 years as they were when this thing was going pretty well. And they just make so many, they turn it over. There are bad penalties, and Mark's good teams were hard-nosed and physical, and they played disciplined football, and they could close out games, and that's just gotten away from them. And I think, besides fixing the offensive line, I don't know once you've lost that if you can get it back, but that's what, besides the offensive line, just getting back to playing more disciplined, more sound football, to me, is the key to this.
And that's where I sorry, Vinny, because I love the L's down as much as anybody. But when it's 27-7 and Louisville's going through your defense like butter, and like, that's not the time for the L's down. Like, if you're gonna do it like Will Levis on touchdowns 3 and 4. Don't. That was my whole thing. Is just we got away from what made Kentucky Kentucky.
Yeah, I agree.
When it comes to football. Sorry about that, Vinny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're good. You talking about the offensive line. You guys both were, and just so where Dylan Ray put his name in the transfer portal today. Is that maybe reactionary to the additions coming in, or is this?
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it. Mark, I asked him about the offensive line at his last weekly news conference, which would have been the Monday before the Louisville game, or maybe the week before. One of his last news conferences, I asked him about the offensive line, and he said, they felt like they needed help at center and they needed help at tackle, but they thought they were in pretty good shape at guard. So I was a little surprised. A couple of guys they brought in looked like guards to me, and I just wondered if that influenced Ray to seeing these guys coming in to put his name in the portal.
So I'm just wondering how prepared they were for that, if they thought they had him in the fold, and then, now this is another little late domino that we hadn't accounted for. So, yeah. Terry always talks about volleyball being the best program on campus. They made it to the Elite Eight against Pitt, number 1 overall seed at their place, and was right there with them in those first 2 sets, and probably should have had one, and then it just kind of got away from them, after that. I mean, just deflating after the second set got away.
Well, when they couldn't close out the second set, I was watching that match on my phone at Rupp Arena during the basketball game. When they had the lead in the second set and couldn't close it out, that's where the match got away from them. I thought they had a really good year. I didn't think they extended their SEC championship streak. I thought with Texas coming in, that streak was in grave jeopardy, and they extended it. They were a 3 seed. They reached the Elite Eight, so they outplayed their seed. I thought this was a year, if you're a UK backer, that you could be, feel good about. Last year they lost to Arkansas in the Sweet 16, team they'd beaten twice. I thought that was kind of a bad ending. This year they were in the same exact situation, facing Missouri, and they took care of business. Volleyball is obviously a tremendous program. Craig's done a good job. I think rifle, with 4 national championships since 2011, may have that designation.
I always forget rifle, and it pops up, and I'm like, oh yeah, because I always want to go watch them, because I think there was like the COVID year, they were going to be hosting at historical.
Yeah,
Royal
they
Coliseum.
would have, and they were undefeated and number one.
And I was like,
that thing, the COVID coming the week it did. If it had been 1 week later, they'd have had another national championship.
and I just wanted to. I don't even know if I could get a ticket. I just wanted to see it because it was like the one thing I have not seen is how good the rifle team is. The crazy thing about volleyball is how good it's become statewide. Of course,
Yeah.
Louisville, Kentucky, and Western are like, I mean, that's crazy. I'm old enough to remember when it was just men's basketball at these places, and now we're popping up all over the place.
Yeah,
See, I can give Louisville some credit, Penny, a little bit of credit.
Yeah, Danny Busboom Kelly has done a tremendous job with that program. You know, they're in their third Final Four in 4 years, and they have it on their home court.
Yeah.
This would certainly seem to be a prime opportunity to break through and win that national championship. But yeah, the state of Kentucky has two consistent top 10 programs now. Top 10, top 15. Western is often in the top 25. That's three top 25 programs. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, the women's volleyball in our state is just tremendous. And Moorhead has pretty good tradition and was in the NCAA tournament. I mean, the level of play in our state is really, really high.
And it makes it hard because I know I'm waiting on that email from you when we've got to pick the sports person of the year. And I was just telling Vinny, like, I used to, Heisman voters and all these voters like, oh, this is easy, right? You should be able to pick, a top five. Like, that's not, and it gets increasingly hard, especially when it's like people playing at Kentucky schools or Kentucky high schools or folks like Sydney McLaughlin that got Kentucky ties. Like, it ain't easy. Like, it's not like, I get my pen and paper and I'm like, got to write this person down. Got to write this. I'm like, well, that's 30 names. I can't send in 30. Like, it's getting really hard to do.
Yeah, it's really hard. And this year is going to be super tough because of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And, because UK athletes affiliated with UK have had so much success. I mean, that, how do you factor that in? And, you've got Lee Kiefer, from here in Lexington, who won 2 gold medals. Yeah. There aren't that many people who grew up in Kentucky who ever won a gold medal. Right. She won 2 and 1 Olympics. I mean, that's pretty strong.
I mean, just looking at that, I thought about that at the game on Saturday when they brought out the Olympians, and I'm like, oh yeah, like this is deep on top of all the high school accolades that you want to put on there, the Travis Perrys and the Trent Noahs and all those folks. See, I'm gonna give you a shout out to Harlan too, Vinny. So I don't envy the folks having to vote because it's gonna get tougher, I should say.
Yeah, this is going to be a hard year. High school. Zakiya Johnson is probably the best girls basketball player that's ever been in this state. I mean, this is going to be a hard year.
Yeah. Plus, Vinny, I'm gonna have to throw out a vote for my oldest. She was first team All-State lacrosse this year. So
I understand because when Blair Green was on there, I was just picking 9 that year because she was, she went to Harlan County. She's gonna be on. So that year, it was a 9-pick list that year. Oh, gotta switch it up real quick too. You come in basking off the glow of another World Series win by your Los Angeles Dodgers. So, do you rank the World Series wins you've seen in your lifetime, and if so, how do you rank?
That's a great question. I mean, technically there have been 5 in my lifetime Dodger World Series wins. One of them was, when I was 1 year old, so I don't have a super big memory of 1965. That's a great question. I think 1988 was probably my favorite, just because they were an underdog team. You had the Kirk Gibson home run, which was, probably my favorite sports moment of my life. And then, Earl Hershiser had that long scoreless streak, and that was kind of his year. And that team was just such an underdog. Nobody thought they could beat the Mets. Then nobody thought they could beat Oakland, and then, they won it. That's probably still my number one. The weird thing this year was with the Freddie Freeman home run, sort of got to relive the Gibson experience.
Yeah.
And, that was kind of cool.
He was on
felt
fire.
bad for you mentioned Aaron Gershon. I felt bad for Aaron being a big Yankee fan, but, I didn't feel so bad that I wanted to give it up.
It's hard to offer sympathy to Yankees fans.
Yeah.
Just I'm sure people say that about Kentucky basketball fans as well. Like, we're not going to feel too sorry for you guys.
Yeah. And when they started kicking the ball all over the field in Game 5, Mark, I mean, have you seen anything like that?
That was amazing. Just, that important a game, the freaking World Series, and they had a little league inning. I mean, it was just amazing. And the weird thing was when, the Dodgers, after the Yankees, sort of melt down, tie the game, but then New York, to its credit, goes back ahead. And, the 8th inning starts, and I'm thinking, all right, after they've basically tried to give it to you, are you not going to take it? But then they took it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mentioned when you came in too, you're an author now. Not only you're a columnist who won. How many Kentucky Sports Writer of the Year awards have you won? Let's just
not 3, I think.
Okay. And let me one more too. I'm digressing, but do you go into every year saying I'm going for it? Like I like you, John Clay, but no, that award is cool in that if you win it, you get a lot of attention because Sports Writer of the Year, people just sort of understand it. But to be honest, to me, it's always seemed completely random. What did I do different this year as opposed to any other year? I just, I'm grateful for any positive recognition because there's plenty of people that are willing to tell me when they don't enjoy what I do. So I'm happy to get
that's right.
any positive recognition, but no, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that particular award unless they call me and tell me I've won it.
There you go. So you've written a book about the great Tom Hammond, fellow Kentuckian, races, games, and Olympic dreams. So just tell us how that came to be. 4 by Bob Costas, written by yourself. So how did that come?
Well, I had written about Tom a good bit over the course of his career. And we were friendly acquaintances, I would say. I mean, we had talked a good bit because, as I said, I'd written about him. He just, approached me. I can't remember if he emailed me or called me just one day sort of out of the blue and said he was thinking about writing a book and needed a writer and would I be interested in doing it? And I said, well, I'd be interested in talking to you. So I went out to his house and we talked about it. And it was funny. Tom sort of goes, I've got some pretty good stories. And we sat and talked and he had some really good stories, some of which I don't think anybody had really outside his family had ever heard. So, it was once I sort of, I knew kind of the arc of his story fairly well anyway, but to just sit and sort of get the details, I said, yeah, this is a good story. And if you want me to do it, I'm happy to try to write this for you. And that's sort of how it came to be.
Man, that's awesome. So when was the first, maybe your memory of him? Was it doing the Derby or some other sport?
No, I didn't grow up in Lexington, so I don't have the background with him in local television that a lot of people who grew up here do. My first recollection of him was doing SEC basketball.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had started, I think I was still in high school when he started. And then when I came to UK, I can remember us being I lived in Keeneland Hall, and I can remember us watching games, in the dorm, a bunch of guys in one room just watching, and Tom was the announcer for those games.
Are you from Richmond, Mark?
I am from Hardin County, a little town called Vine Grove.
Okay.
I grew up right next to Fort Knox.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. So the stories, you just kind of compiled what Tom was saying and, you just kind of picked out.
Yeah. What we did was we did an oral history for UK. They had asked Tom to do an oral history, and I did the interviews for that because the advantage of that was I could interview him and they would provide us with transcripts of the interviews. So I didn't have to do the transcription, which saved me probably a couple of years. So that's how we started. And yeah, he would just, we would talk about various facets of his career or his life. And when we, and I did a lot of research, obviously as an active Herald Leader writer, I have access to the Herald Leader archives. And Tom had been a well-chronicled figure. So there was a lot of information about him in those archives. And between kind of the oral history interviews and the research off those archives, that's kind of how it got started. And when we got to writing, I would write a chapter and I would email it to Tom. And he and his wife Sheila, they would go over it, and if there was something that they weren't comfortable with or something they didn't think was exactly right, they'd say, "Well, we need, let's look at this," and that's sort of how we wrote the book.
So where can everybody go to get it, or what all the places it's available?
Well, it's available in all the major internet booksellers, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of them. I'm happy to say it seems to have been a hot item here in Lexington in the run up to Christmas. Several people have told me they've gone to prominent places and been told it's sold out locally. Tom and I were both gratified by that.
Yeah, as you should be. So yeah, that is great. So definitely wanted to talk about that. And isn't it on Twitter too? Is it Hammond Book or?
There is. I set that up. I haven't been tweeting from that a lot lately, but yes, Vinny, I am super impressed. You noticed that.
Yeah, so
Vinny's good for pulling out some nuggets that you don't even know. He's pulled that on me, Mark, and I'm like, we've been doing this for 10 years. What are you doing?
I set that. The book came out August 20th, and I set up that account thinking I would use it to promote appearances and stuff. I did that for a while. I couldn't tell it was having a big impact. So I haven't been tweeting from that account a lot, but since you've noticed it, I may fire it back up.
Yeah, I meant to put it in the tag when I put out the tweet about you being on, but
it's at I think it's at Tom Hammond Book.
Okay.
Is the address of that account.
Yeah. So are you gonna be making a trip to New York for Saturday's game?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm pretty heavily working on the sports figure over the next 3 days.
Mm-hmm. And I dropped the ball last year. I got to get my ballot in this year. So it snuck up on me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to do that." Then the deadline came and went, and I hate that
I was in a friendly. Last year, if you voted, you voted. If you didn't, you didn't. But I think this year I'm going to be more aggressive. So if I don't have a ballot from you by the last day, I may call
you. Okay. All right. You got so much on your plate. I'm gonna try to keep it where you don't have to get on the horn to light a fire under me. I can't. Mark got more pressing things to do than worry about calling me. So I got to get mine in and get that. Yeah, I got to get on the ball this year. Sure.
Absolutely.
And do you have an NFL team? Have we talked about you?
No, I really don't. When I was a kid, I sort of rooted for the Cowboys, but when Jerry Jones fired Tom Landry, and not that Tom Landry didn't deserve to be fired, but the way he did it, I didn't like it, so I kind of dumped them. I just never have really had a team since then.
Yeah, well, there was some success early, but you saved yourself a lot of.
Yeah, I've got some cousins who are big Cowboy fans, and they just seem miserable all the time.
Oh man, yep, I can.
There you are, Vinny.
Empathize with them. So yeah, that was a smart move in the end. Over the big picture, it was a smart move. You missed out on 3 Super Bowls, but these last 30 years, Mark, hey. But man, we can't thank you enough for hopping on. We always appreciate it, and grateful that you include us in the ballot, man. It's always an honor to be able to put our 2 cents in there and contribute to.
Well, we're happy to have you guys as voters in the Kentucky Sports Figure of the Year voting, and we appreciate the fact that you all take it seriously and vote and then talk about it. So we appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, appreciate you, and enjoy the next home game. I guess it'll be Brown for you, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
on New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Yeah. How about that? So a little stretch of, I can't say Camp Cal, whatever Pope's going to call his period of just practicing and getting better. That's where we are right now. So
That's right.
We'll see the matchup with Aaron Bradshaw if he plays this weekend, and then go from there. So, man, Mark, thank you so much. I always appreciate you, and definitely have to have you on again sometime for sure.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you much. Mr. Mark Story from the Herald Leader. Get the book, Tom Hammond, Races, Games, and Olympic Dreams, A Sportscaster's Life. So that's cool that he got to be a part of that. Like Tom, man, NBC, Tom Hammond, you watching the Derby? Tom was all over it.
Over, yeah. And way back, that was my introduction when we was doing those Kentucky games, some of those tape delay games.
Yeah.
Trying to explain to the youth about tape delay.
It was a lot of Tom Hammond. It was a lot of Rob Bromley.
Yes.
Those football games, you're trying to stay up Saturday night. And we've had my guy George Massey on that, because he's a year ahead of me at Cumberland. But, you hear Rob saying, tackle made tonight by George Massey, the freshman out of Lynch, Kentucky. And we would be just so proud and, fighting sleep, trying to watch.
One of my favorite memories of that 96 Kentucky team, the basketball team, was one night me and some of my friends decided to go bowling at Southland Bowling Alley, right there off Nicholasville. And the team came in.
Okay.
But as we're there, the tape delay of the game they had just played at Rupp came on.
Okay.
And so it was kind of like Inception. It was watching themselves like and busting each other's chops and everything like that. That just one of those memories. I'm like, that's got to be something. Like, how many times do you get to just watch yourself like on a broadcast like that? So the tape delay, that was fun. So
that's awesome. That is awesome.
I got my list here. So we talked about the Louisville game. Louisville's an unserious program. Denny Crum didn't do all that for y'all to be talking about how you played Kentucky close. Shameful. Be embarrassed. As I told you before we get on, I had to talk about the NBA Cup. I don't want to see any. If the Bucks put up a banner or whatever they do, because everybody had jokes about the Lakers winning it. And so now when Milwaukee wins it, now Nick Wright's talking about, oh, Giannis, this is a rite of passage. Like, come on, man. Everybody and their brother clowned it because LeBron was like, this is pretty cool. And then the NBA, I will go to my grave, was like, y'all got to do something with this. You got to put something up there in the rafters. And everybody had jokey jokes. And my only pushback was, why would the Lakers put up a fake banner when we got more banners than anybody? Why would we do that? Why would the Lakers as an organization do that? They use Western Conference championship trophies as doorstops. Why would they do that? Like, what would be the benefit? So that, yes, as I've said to you repeatedly, they put it up by the Minneapolis Lakers banners, and we keep it moving. But now it's triumph and all. No, man, everybody had jokes. I love Giannis, but no, this don't add nothing to nothing.
Right.
And people are like, oh, they're not even celebrating. I know you've seen that picture, champagne and all that stuff, because y'all clown the Lakers for doing it. And so it's going to take a while before teams really embrace this.
Yes.
It's going to take a while because y'all clown the Lakers for doing it, which is fine. I get it. Everybody hates the Lakers. That's fine. But I said going into this year, I don't want to see whoever wins it, they get nothing. You get nothing for winning it. Nothing. Because that ain't my rule. That's what y'all said. With your little jokey jokes.
That's right.
Because you remember the championship game, AD went for like 45 and 20, but it didn't count and nobody cared. And okay, cool. Keep it moving. Nobody cares about it. Great.
And look, I mean, I can't say that. Look, I'm glad that my Rockets made the Final Four. I don't know that I would have. I still can't say I care about the cup. I'm not going to sit here and lie. You know,
I don't care, and I didn't when the Lakers won it.
right?
I said that's pretty cool because Andy balled out, and I'm like, we're gonna need that from you in May and June.
Yeah,
but that's pretty cool. When Laker fans like, oh, this is awesome. Everybody had jokey jokes. Okay, then it's if it's not serious for the Lakers, it's not serious for anybody. Don't switch it up because it's a team you like or a team that you hate less than the Lakers. Don't switch it up because don't do the flippity flip. That's what we're not going to do.
Yes.
So there's that. Then I know I'm getting old because I've seen the NBA's change in the All-Star format.
Oh, man.
I saw the change. I refuse to read all the details because it's dumb. The number one thing is about when it comes to the All-Star game is the players have to care.
I saw that too.
I know you've seen this discourse, why the NBA ratings going down and blah, 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 blah. To me, it's basically you used to be able to find the games on ESPN, ABC, TNT had games. Then you had game on the weekend, right? But like everything else, now you need I don't want to get a streaming service just to watch the Lakers. Although they're on TV, national TV, like 45 times this year.
Yeah.
But you make it hard to watch. And the biggest thing we can nitpick about style of play, the NBA's biggest curse, and this goes back as long as I can remember, is people don't think they play hard.
Nope.
We've heard that refrain forever because honestly, basketball is the one sport you can kind of go 3/4 speed and still be okay. You can't half do football or you're going to get hurt. Like you can't half do baseball, right? You can't, and even then we point out if someone's lollygagging around the bases, right? But the NBA, and you know how I know it's been around forever? It made it to the 1980 movie Airplane, right? I don't know if you've seen that, but Kareem is in it. And, and the little kid's like, you're not Roger Murdoch. My dad says you don't get back on defense. And he grabs the kid and he says, tell your old man to drag up Walton and Lemire up down the court. The narrative has been NBA players don't play hard. And then load management becomes a thing. The process becomes a thing. Like, we have to believe that you're trying to win. And you let a whole thing become we're actively trying to lose. That's how you lose fans. Because what do I always say? The biggest thing you can ask for your team is, are you playing hard? If I'm going to commit the time, the money, the resources to watch and support, are you playing hard? Right? That's really what we ask. You don't always ask for your main person to go for 40. Nice if they do, but thinking about to the Knicks versus your Rockets in '94, John Starks going 2 for whatever it was. It wasn't because he wasn't trying.
Yeah.
Right. And the NBA just has this thing where people just think they're not trying hard.
Until the playoffs.
Right or wrong. Right? Like right or wrong, that's just the mindset of what people think. And so you're not going to beat the charges.
And go back to the 01 and 03 All-Star games. I mean, we watched. Was it Kobe? There was a tough fadeaway over Sean Marion or whoever. AI I think it was the one in Atlanta. I think that's the one. I mean, it was just go hoop. Just go hoop. And that's all you gotta do. And that'll alleviate all this. Well, we gotta have 3 teams of 8, and we gotta do this.
Don't explain it to me. I don't want to know. Look, I have made it all the way through week 13 of the NFL. I have no idea what's happening on the kickoffs. No clue. The wife and I, we went to the Niners and Vikings in Minneapolis week 1.
Yeah.
And before the game, they had people on the Jumbotron explaining the landing zone. I tried to follow, didn't get it. So every time I'm watching the kickoff NFL, I have no idea what's going on. None. Like I refuse. Like, what are we doing?
And you take away the element of surprise with an onside kick. You can't do that anymore because I still remember what Super Bowl 30, Cowboys Steelers, and Coward goes surprise onside, and they had the momentum, and then he pulls that, and they get it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to grip a little bit because first Super Bowl we blow out Buffalo. I'm just, hey, this is, and then the second one is tough for the first half, and then you pull away. Now this one, Pittsburgh out playing us. Levon Kirkland is stuffing Moose and Emmett, and Greg Lloyd is over there being Greg Lloyd, and they got us on the ropes. And then that onside kick, now you can't even do that. And when you can, it's in the fourth quarter when, all right, we're going to declare, we're going to tell you that we're going onside kick. That surprise element, I think, was it the Saints did the Colts that way in the Super Bowl?
I was going to say the Saints did the Colts, and that flipped that game, and you've taken that away.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to know about the NBA All-Star because the basic thing is
go hoop.
People have to feel that you care.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked for a decade plus. I always loved the NBA All-Star game because the NFL, you can't play that All-Star game going half speed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, I love the pageantry of the All-Star game, and it's great that every team gets somebody in it. But when it's 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth, it's the Mariners setup man versus the Pirates, left fielder. So the stakes are there, but you don't get that's not what you're getting, right? You're not getting these dudes. You're not getting the top dudes.
You want Pedro striking out all those dudes like he did. You want that in the 9th inning.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right. But you don't get that with baseball.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they do hockey. We'd have to bring Craig Bates on to talk about hockey. But basketball, yes, you don't have that intensity the first couple of quarters, right? But there's a lot of times, and I've gone to YouTube and I've looked, like something happens in the fourth quarter. Like if it's close, I mean, within 15, 20 points, because remember the East came back that one year with Iverson and them from like 20 something points down. It's a moment where you've got basically the 10 best players in the world. And the thing I like about that kind of stuff is it organically shakes itself out, right? Like, what happened at the Olympics? Okay, Steph on fire, LeBron and KD take a step back, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just something organic about hoops like that. But I'm not watching a 300-point basketball game. Like that to me is not enjoyable. Like it just isn't. Like y'all talk about they don't play defense. Watch these all and they're not even crossing half court. It's not even a pickup game. And you want people to be committed to this? Come on now.
I swear, I think you and I were probably literally the last defenders, and we were clinging and hoping.
We were holdouts.
And every year we were like, well, maybe this year they're going to bring it and they're going to hoop. And then it got to the point where you and I couldn't even defend it. And we hoped like the Dickens that, man, this is our favorite All-Star game. And it just fell apart right in front of our eyes these past few years.
I need to find the clip I saw. It was the 88, 89 All-Star game. And there's elbows and hard fouls in the second quarter. Like, there's body checks. Like, bring that back, man. Like bring that back. Because what year was it? There were 4 Lakers and 4 Celtics in the 80s. And that game got heated because it was before they met in the 84 finals.
Okay.
Might have been like 82, 83, maybe. I mean, I don't remember watching it live, but I've gone back, like, because they kept missing each other in the finals. And so they, in the All-Star game, and it got real. It got real. I mean, but you don't get that anymore. And that's been the NBA's thing. They've been fighting for 75 years is people don't think they play hard.
And I mean, LeBron catches a lot of stuff. Some of it is justified. Some of it is not. This is kind of his generation is kind of, because Kobe was still out there playing hard.
Kobe got his nose broken by Dwayne Wade in the All-Star game.
They were still going at it. Kobe, LeBron, I'll never forget, they interviewed him that one year. You going to win dunk contest next year? Yeah. And then he no-showed it and didn't do it. Never did it. And so, I mean, is it fair? No, but he's the face of the league in this decline of the All-Star game. So
and decline of the All-Star festivities. Like, when it comes to dunk contest, there's always like 2 or 3 names. I'm like, I don't know who that is. And I don't say that to be derogatory, but I'm like, Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins. That's who I remember putting this thing on the map. Like, oh, you better than it. Like, to me, I'm like, that's part of Mike's legacy. Literally, the Jumpman logo is from the dunk contest. Like, that's like that iconic image, and we don't get that. I think Kobe won it once, and like now it's a bunch of dudes. I don't know who this is, or it's Gerald Green, who for 12 straight years you forget he's in the league until he catches a body. You're like, oh yeah, well, he's great at dunking, but he's not good at anything else when it comes to basketball. And then it got too gimmicky. I'm sorry, Dwight Howard. It got to be too much. And look, I know our man Hami Diallo won it some years ago. Like we've had Kenny Walker win it way back when. It used to be a marquee event.
Yeah, it was still real when Kenny won it. Sure was.
But it's gimmicks, and I don't know. You get like a timer. Like I'm old man phase today. I don't know the rules. You keep going until you hit the dunk. Like what? My eyes started falling out of love with it when Sean Kemp kept losing because his first dunk was always a 50. But then he didn't have dunks 2 through 5. And so he would never advance. But the first dunk, Sean Kemp, you'd be like, oh my God, which is hard for a 6'10 dude because it doesn't look as great, right? And so he'd come through, you'd be like, oh yeah. And then the next one, he's just like, all right. Okay. All right. Like, I don't know. It used to have, and again, probably because I'm older, but it's all these names. I'm like, I don't know who these people are that are in this dunk contest or the 3-point contest or the skill. Like, I don't know who some of these folks are. And that's the NBA. That's an NBA problem. But I tell you who's not having a problem with recognition. It's the WNBA. I don't know if you saw Caitlin Clark, Time Athlete of the Year. My 2 cents, Caitlin Clark is 22 and she's entered the LeBron James zone. What I mean by that is we are unable to have a smart discussion about Caitlin Clark because everybody brings their own biases to this discussion. A lot of things can be true. Were there great players before her? Obviously. Are there great players now? Certainly. Is she different? Yes. And so for every one of these accolades that she wins, we have to hear about how it's got to be for everybody else. And that's not how this works at all. Like, it's not how this is supposed to go. You can't have the owner of the Washington franchise, the Mystics, talking about how everybody in the league should have been Time Athlete of the Year.
Wow.
What are you talking about? Well, it isn't just Caitlin Clark. Vinny, I don't know if you've seen the numbers. The 2 games that the Fever played in Washington accounted for 31% of the Washington attendance, because they moved it to where I almost said Bullets because I'm an old person. They moved it to where the Wizards play.
Mm-hmm.
The Atlanta Dream owner with Ryan Howard down there had some smoke for Caitlin and the Fever fans. But when Fever come to town, they play where the Hawks play.
Yeah.
It's okay to say this one is different. It's okay. It really is. It's fine to say this one's different. And now it's like, well, is she that good? Yes. Caitlin Clark is that good. Mm-hmm. Is this person going to be better? Now Juju is the thing. And I think I saw something. She's kind of on that scoring pace. Again, Caitlin Clark set the NCAA scoring record for men and women, while also leading the country in assists for 3 straight years. Her bag is deep, y'all. Like, you can explain it away, whatever you want to do, but everybody brings their own 2 cents into it. This side's mad because she's gone woke. This side's mad because she's not giving enough love to the old people. And all this girl's trying to do is just hoop, man. That's all it is. But everybody bringing their own biases into it. Yes, it's her singularly. Like, you can get mad or you can get on board with this, but it's ridiculous. I saw today, I was going to retire her jersey on 2-2 for 22. They're going to retire her jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the first I heard of it, Asia Wilson's getting her jersey retired on the same day at South Carolina. One, why did I hear about that until now with Asia? 2, she got a statue, but they didn't retire her jersey.
Right, yeah.
Like, she got a statue out there, like, and people are like, oh, they need to move it to a different day. I'm like, why? She's 22. Like, it works. They got a home national audience. USC and Juju are coming to Iowa.
Mm. Oh,
right. And so, as soon as I saw they were going to retire, I went on StubHub, and the tickets were $250 that you could get it. And I said, okay. So I sent a message to the wife. I said, that's a little pricey. I went back to StubHub. They had $375 each. I did something else, came back like $800, $900 a pop. And I'm like, well, I'll catch you on the flippity flip because I ain't got it like that. But like, that girl is just different. Like, it's okay to say she's just different. But they have to stop putting everything about the WNBA on her shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, she just out here trying to hoop, man.
Mm-hmm.
But this little brunette girl, I shouldn't say brunette, she's a young woman from West Des Moines, Iowa, got these people just all kinds of ways messed up. And I don't get it. Like, I just don't. All she does is shoot threes. She led the league in assists. Like, she said assists. Like, what are you talking about? Like, anyway, like, I'm no women's basketball aficionado. And yes, I do have a soft spot for brunettes from West Des Moines, Iowa. I admit that. But they just out of pocket with this, man. Like, why y'all antagonizing people? And you know who gave the best, like, rundown of all this? Dave Portnoy of Barstool. And I am not a Barstool fan, but he has a 5-minute video. I'm like, I'm agreeing with Barstool. Like, people on all sides of the spectrum are projecting on her, and the voice of reason is Dave Portnoy from Barstool. What are we, like? That's losing the plot, man. Like, what? She just trying to hoop. She just trying to hoop, man. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. And if this new coaching hire clicks, like everybody says, going to, and they take off like everybody thinks they had a potential to do so. It's going to be, you think you tired of her now, wait until they.
Hey, she going to have 25-10 this year. I'm calling it 25-10-6. Ooh, buddy. Like, ooh. Because she was at 19-8 this year. That's not a huge jump. And I watched a video Stephanie White was talking to on a YouTube channel, Coaching You, and it's run by a guy who was Chuck Daly's assistant for the Pistons during their championship years. And they're just talking basketball, and it's great. I'll send it to you because it's just, hey, Steph White going to have something for everybody. Like, this girl's different. Like, so y'all just going to have to continue to be mad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just be mad, man, because, hey, she ain't going nowhere.
Go lock her down and beat him, or else just hush your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, she has said and done all the right kind of things, but at some point, it's like, look, I've apologized enough. I have paid homage. I have done enough. I saw a clip of, I can't remember what show, like one of these podcasts just talking about, it's like they making her pledge of fraternity or sorority, because every time she do something, she got to recite every first draft pick in 27 years of WNBA history. That's not her job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she was breaking Tina Pinichiero's records, the WNBA wasn't saying anything. It was random fans on Twitter that were like, here's how good Tina was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the a frame of reference for what Caitlin's doing. And Tina was interacting with this random fan, like, you know, this record, I forget which one it was, is in good hands, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's how you do it. Yeah. It shouldn't be the person that breaks it. Like, it's nice if they do, but the league has to do it, right? Like, we were aware when LeBron was moving up the scoring list, right? We were aware of what that meant. We were aware when Steph was coming up that 3-point list. Like, we know what that means. Oh, he's catching Reggie Miller. Oh, he's catching Ray Allen. The WNBA is not doing that.
No.
So, but it's not her responsibility to do all that all the time.
Right. Well, no, not for her self-marketing. No.
You know, and the thing is, well, why'd she get a shoe? Well, why don't you go get a shoe? Like, why are you mad at her, not mad at Nike? Asia doesn't have a shoe. Well, she should. Let me tell you something. No one is turning that down. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? She should have turned it down. Turn down the Nike money so other people can get shoes. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? She should have turned down the time thing. Like, I don't even know if you can turn down the time thing. Like, what are we doing here? Like, but no one is having a legitimate discussion because everybody's coming with their own baggage. I told them I went to the barbershop in Louisville, getting ready for the game. That was fun. You know, it's a Louisville barbershop, a lot of Louisville folks, had my Kentucky stuff on. So, you know, I had to hear a little bit of all that. But just talking about the WNBA, which is a new thing for me at my barbershop. But I'm like, that Caitlin is the real deal. Like, you can be mad, you can be glad, but next year going to be fun.
Yeah.
So that's all I had on my list of things to talk about today. I have to keep track. My rants, as I get older, I can't do them off the top of my head anymore, so I have to jot down notes like an old person.
Well, only thing I was, you know, we got which I thought it was last week, but you got the playoffs for college football start this weekend, actually Friday. Indiana, Notre Dame, which is weird, and then the rest of them are Saturday. I just wish there was a way for Tennessee and Ohio State to both lose. I know one of them has got to win since they're playing each other, but I think
I'm rooting for Ohio State.
Yeah, me too. I think SMU might beat Penn State. It wouldn't surprise me at all for them to go up there and you know, give James Franklin an L, because him in the, you know, big time games, he don't really bring it like that. And, you know,
Penn State and Ohio State and Oklahoma, these last 10 to 15 years, all in that same, very, very good, right? They win 10, 11 games. But would you bet on them to win in the playoffs? And the answer is no, no, sirree, no.
Oh, who else? Georgia's in there, but Beck about got his arm ripped off. He kind of got Joe Montana when they were playing. Who they playing? Texas.
Yeah,
he was about to let it rip, and that shoulder and that defender hit him. And I don't mean to bring up bad memories, but it wasn't quite Leonard Marshall, Joe, but it reminded me of that. So now I don't know. The backup did good, but Cutter Boley looked good against Texas, and then he's starting next week.
Yeah.
So I don't know as far as that goes for Georgia's guy. I think the Ducks might they might quack all the way to the championship and win it this time. It's just me.
Bringing up Leonard Marshall, I remember I went to 49ers Bengals game forever ago. Jeff Garcia was the quarterback, and T.O. was still on the team.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while, but this Bengals fan is just yelling at the 49ers bench, Wilbur Marshall. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? And he brings up the Joe Montana. I'm like, that's Leonard Marshall. What? And he was like, oh, my bad. I was like, if you're going to do it right, man. Like,
that's the best thing you do.
Yeah.
Say the wrong name.
Yeah. Like, Wilbur Marshall. And he kept saying it. And I'm like, why is he saying Wilbur Marshall? Like, I'm trying to, is there something I'm forgetting? I'm like, do you mean Leonard Marshall? He's like, yeah, he got in. Like, that's Leonard Marshall. What do you do? Like, what are you doing?
It had nothing to do with the Bengals anyway. This was a Giants 49ers NFC Championship game, and this guy's going. Well, the Bengals can't beat them. Let me just.
I'm on the record for how I feel about the Bengals, and I've shared that with folks. I've shared that with folks here about that. I'm not going to rattle the cage too loud on that, but
repost that on X. Find that clip and repost it.
Oh man, but I don't know who's going to win the NFL. I mean, the thing is, Patrick Mahomes is doing his. Is it December? Then he's got an ankle injury. I ain't being fooled by you, Patrick Mahomes. Been fooled by you limping in the playoffs, and then you start doing your wizardry. I'm not falling for it. I'm not doing that. But because my thing is, okay, you've got the Chiefs. Who else do you feel confident in going to the playoffs? Buffalo. Buffalo's good to lay a stinker game, right? Do you have faith in, I'm going to catch a lot of flack, in the Ravens? Lamar Jackson, yes. Forget what Bill Polian said. He doesn't need to move positions. He's a great quarterback. But he's now getting to that point where it's like, you got to give us one of those games in the playoffs. Like, you just got to get it done at some point. That to me is, if you don't win a championship and you are one of these all-time greats, you got to at least give us something. What do I mean by that? I'm looking at like the 93 finals. Charles Barkley, they're in Chicago, and he puts up like 55, 56, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Boom. Like, you got to give me something. I know people talk like Dan Marino, like he gave us, those AFC championship. Like, he gave us those moments in the playoffs.
So got to a Super Bowl.
Right. Even if you don't win it, to be an all-time great, you got to give us a postseason memory. And so that, right or wrong, that's where Lamar is at this point. He's got the regular season accolades, but hey, you got to get it done, man. And handing it off and being passive ain't going to get it done. You need that moment. That's what I feel. So you got NFC. Do I think the Eagles can do it? I do not. I know you don't want them to win either, so you can come on over. Come on. But so I don't know. I don't know who gets to the Super Bowl. But I think when it comes to Chiefs, show me the body.
No.
Let me, I feel like doubting Thomas at this point. Let me see. Let me see. You say he's dead. Let me see. Because I have seen the Chiefs on the ropes, look dead in the water. I've been personally victimized by Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And hey, Michelle, go Bucks.
Yes, the Emirates Cup champion Bucks there.
Yeah.
NBA Cup champs. Though.
There we go.
Surely you're not in Wisconsin now, though, Michelle. You got to be out west playing some golf this time of year. Surely you're not up there. That cold weather. Not now.
Oh, you see Doug Gottlieb get dunked on by Adam Schefter and then go lose to a Division II school?
He's still doing his show, right? He's still doing the same show he's been doing.
Look, man, I'm going to explain this. When you look up Doug Gottlieb on his Wikipedia page, it needs to say failing upward. How else do you get kicked out of Notre Dame for stealing credit cards and end up Oklahoma State and having a career? And he fires off these bizarre takes. He's the dude. My wife doesn't like him because he's the one at the end of last year that basically said he could help Caitlin Clark with her jump shot. One, have you ever seen Doug Gottlieb shoot a basketball?
He was not a shooter ever.
55% from the free throw line. Like, the reason Oklahoma State lost those games is they just backed off of him. But you are going to help the person that scored more points in NCAA history than anybody else. You're going to help her with the jump shot.
So about right.
And so now he's still doing his radio show while coaching and not being very good at it.
Knew that wasn't going to work. Everybody knew.
So I'm tired of Doug Gottlieb. And his Green Bay team is here in town taking on undefeated Drake this Saturday. I wanted to go just so I could heckle in person, but it's the same time as the Kentucky-Ohio State game. But yeah, Drake 10-0. The best thing about Drake, they participated in the men's Final Four, and the University of Tennessee hasn't. That's why I'm rooting for the Bucks. So I can't remember what Twitter account it was that tweeted out about the 2014 Wichita State game in the tournament. To me, one of the best basketball games I've ever seen. De facto, the best second round game I'd put out there, right? And I was like, oh, this is great, blah, 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 blah. And a Tennessee fan responded to me with a picture of Jack Golke.
I saw that.
And then I responded with my favorite Jeopardy, that little Jeopardy thing. This SEC team's never volunteered to participate in the men's Final Four. And then this is what happens. They move the goalpost. Well, we in the playoffs. Then go be happy. Go be happy with your College World Series title. Go be happy that your football team is not terrible for the first time since 98. Why are you even worried about this? Like, I'm not out here picking fights. Why are you coming to me with this? So, yes, I want Ohio State to win because I need some Tennessee tears to keep me happy.
Yeah.
We wanted a football elite. You're nothing. You're Tennessee. Get out of my face.
I hope it's snowing in Columbus Saturday night. I hope it's, some of that our weather down there in Ohio. I hope it's 8 degrees and snow.
but my hopes are riding on Ryan Day making the right coaching choices. And that doesn't seem he's coaching for his job, which sounds ridiculous for someone like 66-6 or whatever. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but man, you can't be dog walked by Michigan.
4 of those 6s against that team up north or whatever they say. They don't even say the name.
Yeah, like that. It sounds crazy, but they may get him out to paint for that.
Man.
Like that sounds insane.
how did he lose to them this year? I mean, this
because
team, man.
Coaches get cute. You got all these receivers. Why you keep running the ball where Michigan's run deep? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Coaches try to outsmart themselves. Like, if you're gonna go down doing what you do.
What's the receiver name? Jeremiah Smith, whatever.
Yeah.
Two targets.
What are you doing?
Terry.
It goes back to like Pete Carroll in that Super Bowl. If you give the ball to Marshawn Lynch and the Patriots stop him 2 or 3 times, okay. Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But why are you getting cute?
Yeah.
That's one of my aggravations to one of the Super Bowl losses, the one against the Ravens, the Beyonce Super Bowl when the lights went out. Get within the 5, Frank Gore doesn't get a touch. That's coaching malpractice. Go with what brought you, but coaches like to get cute. Oh, you got to play the tendency. Sometimes the tendency is we're going to put the ball in the stomach of our running back and see what you do. Or best player, whatever. I never believe in we're going to let this player be a decoy. No, you're going to give the ball to MJ, let him do something.
Mm-hmm.
If he passes it to Stockton or to Kerr, great. If he shoots it over Elo, great.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean you're going to have somebody be a decoy? No. Coaches get too cute with it, man. You find something that works and you do it till the other team stops it. That's what happened. Do I expect Lamont Butler to go for 30 again? I don't expect it, but if the game dictates it, go get it. That's another thing I saw Louisville fan. Well, if Butler didn't go for 30, that's generally how it goes. That's generally how it goes. If you take away the performance of the other team's best player, yes, you generally will win that game. It's like a Giants fan. Well, they just had Emmitt Smith and he just kept running. Yes, that's how it works. We would have won if they didn't have Jerry Rice. I've heard that from Bengals fans of Super Bowl 23, and I'm like, yes, very profound.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did you see this thing about the top wide receivers of all time? There was a top 10 list that was floating around. Didn't have Larry Fitzgerald on it, so I found it to be invalid.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the receivers, I'm like, look, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for one more thing so we wrap up. We really undersell how good Jerry Rice was for the first 10 years of his career. He was 10 straight years All-Pro. And within 9 seasons, he had every career receiving record. Everything after year 10 was gravy. I mean, go back and people look, the difference between him and number 2. Because I saw this thing too. Tampa Bay, they are making Mike Evans a slam dunk Hall of Famer. I never thought about that dude. Even in at any point in my life. Mike Evans? He's a surefire first round Hall of Fame. No, man. T.O. had to wait. Irvin had to wait. And that dude's going to walk in? Come on now.
Mike Evans.
Even his passing numbers swell, no one's coming close to Jerry's numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get that out there. But yeah, what your sister saying, no Larry Fitzgerald, like that dude was good. Great.
814 catches, 12,000 yards, 103 touchdowns for Mike Evans. Okay.
The best way I saw that was he is the Frank Gore of receivers. And I say that, and I love Frank Gore because he was the engine that kept a lot of bad 49ers teams from being worse. He's number 3 all-time rushing, and no sane person is going to put him in the top 10 all-time running backs.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where numbers don't tell the story. Like for me, John Stockton, NBA leader in assists and steals?
Yeah.
And if you had to rank point guards in NBA history, Is he top 5?
I'm going Magic and Isaiah right off the
Yeah,
bat.
Magic, Isaiah, Nash, Chris Paul, Jason Kidd. Like,
dude, I put Mark Price above Stockton. Why you playing? Hey, Mark, go and look him up. Mark was cold. You know,
yeah, he was 50, 40, 90 before it was a thing, man.
Well, them Cleveland teams couldn't beat Jordan, but Mark, man, and Larry Nance, Mark Price, Hot Rod Williams, Ron Harper, when he was the next Jordan supposed to be, you know, before he had knee trouble.
Yeah.
Kevin Johnson was in Cleveland too before Phoenix.
Yeah. So
Tim Hardaway's in there.
But numbers don't tell the story.
See these receiving leaders. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Evans, 800 catches, 12,000 yards. That's more than I thought he had.
But can you remember anything about him playing?
No, he's consistent. I'll give him that. He's consistently low key. I mean, 70, 80, 90 catches, however many yards. But no, I don't. Nothing. You know, he got a ring too.
But for me, the Hall of Fame, you and I have talked about it before. If I can't remember a play that you have made, I'm not putting you in the Hall of Fame. At least Eli, he's getting in. I don't think he should, but at least he's got some moments.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Randy Moss.
Oh yeah.
Who probably is the most physically gifted receiver we've seen. But shout out to him dealing with was it liver cancer? I forget what cancer it was, but he's back. And Randy is the missus' favorite receiver because she was in college when he started rolling in with those Vikings teams.
Okay.
And Randy, I mean, I had to show her that clip of D'Angelo Hall talking about, because D'Angelo Hall was a dude, right, at defensive back, and he was talking about 2 steps in, and Randy got me turning my hips. On the 3rd step, his hand is up, and I'm like, "What are you?" And before I know it, step 4 and 5, the ball's in the air, like, and Randy like this, man. I got to be disheartening. You all pro, this dude just come out.
So
and I'll be nice.
Mike Evans. Yeah. It's like, okay. Like Jason Witten still got more receiving yards than you, and he was a tight end. Steve Largent played back in, we were kids. And the passing numbers were not what they are now. He's still ahead of Mike Evans. Okay. No disrespect. Henry Ellert still 15. So okay. You got old school dudes that's still ahead of Mike. You know, James Lofton still ahead of Mike.
And if he's your guy, he's your guy. But he was just pretty good.
So he's 24th right now, all time in receiving yards, just behind Art Monk, another old school dude was playing when we was in middle school.
He had the that was the most elusive thing, was consecutive games with a catch, because Art Monk had that forever.
Irvin Fryer and Art Monk are ahead of him. So yeah. So
there's going to be a log jam. There always is a log jam getting into the Hall of Fame, but I'm like, I don't know, because the wife and I were talking about it. You know, maybe if Kittle gets in, and I think he's going to end up with a pretty good shot, that we would go to see someone in, but no one else has moved me quite like going to see Jerry go in.
Yeah.
And at the same time with that other guy from Dallas.
Yeah, that's the year. I don't know what me and my dad and my sister were thinking. That's the year we should have been in. We should have met you in Canton.
Yeah, it was fun.
We should have crossed paths there. You know.
Well, me and Ralph, my friend Ralph, we ran into Jay Novacek. And then I realized at this late date, because this was 2010, I don't know if I ever knew what Jay Novacek looked like. And somebody just said, that's Jay Novacek. And I'm like, He's 6'4", 6'5", like with a cowboy hat on. Like, if you say so. Like, I don't like. It just hit me. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen him. Like, if I could point him out.
Man, CJ was repping. Was Brent Jones there? CJ Novacek was there. Brent Jones there. I'm just playing.
Well, I hope they change. I told you they had this thing where you could pay $200 for a chance to get something signed.
Oh wow!
I'm so glad I avoided that, man. I'd be mad as hell. Here's $200, and then they closed it down to get ready for the ceremony. I'd be mad, man.
Oh.
Anyway,
yeah.
But another good show. A lot of, Kentucky beats Louisville. I mean, sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Mm-hmm. Clockwork. So yeah, 90. And the people that want to say it wasn't a pretty game to watch. It was up and down. It was high scoring. So that was, it wasn't 58-50. We've had some of those.
Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, Louisville, they hit some contested threes. I mean, they hit some really, really tough threes.
And Hepburn, Chucky Hepburn that's a bad rascal.
Yeah,
he's a bad dude.
Absolutely. And it feels, and there's the thing too. Now Brandon Garrison's a thug, right? Like, y'all thug it up all the time. That's my favorite thing. At the end of the game, every time Kentucky beats Louisville basketball, my favorite thing is the woulda, shoulda, couldas. All right, we get that. Some Kentucky player gets physical. He a thug. Like, this guy's just like DeMarcus Cousins. Man, okay, whatever. And then my another thing on my list is how Louisville wants to separate themselves from Kentucky and pretend that it's Kentucky as a state that's more racist than Louisville the city, right? They want to, because they really racist at University of Kentucky. And I want to say, my brother and sister in Christ, you can probably sell that to someone else whose dad did not have to sue the city of Louisville for discrimination and win. Like, let's be clear. I have been in the city of Louisville. I've been out in Kentucky. It ain't that different.
Yeah.
No matter how you want to separate it, it ain't that different. We just got some taller buildings. That's about it. We got a couple more highways. That's about it.
Right. Yeah. At the end of the day.
Because, I always think like, oh, Louisville is a nice, modest city. And then I go to Chicago and I'm like, well, this is, or you see Atlanta and you're like, oh, okay, this is a city. Mm-hmm. Or you go to St. Louis, like, okay, Louisville is a big town. It's my hometown. I love it. It is a big town, a modest city. No. We're not a booming metropolis.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So there we are.
Appreciate everybody. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate Mark's story. Appreciate TB. Appreciate Ben Service and the BS3 Network. Another fun one. We'll get on out of here and watch the Cats hopefully beat up on the Buckeyes Saturday. And maybe the Buckeyes will beat up on the Vols after that, because all that's happening Saturday. So
yeah. And then the Cats will take on Brown.
That's it.
It still boggles my mind. There's only been one Brown ever to letter at the University of Kentucky in men's hoops. That is mind blowing. It feels statistically impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who I need to complain to, but it feels pointed.
Yeah. Maybe Pope will recruit some cousins in here and get you.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can do that.
We got a Johnson, got Jasper Johnson, so maybe we can get some Browns. That's another. I don't know how many Johnsons have played in Kentucky.
I'd have to look that up, but only one Brown, Dale.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's been many Johnsons. I can't recall any right off the bat. So no Johnsons and Browns. It seemed like it should be a lot of those. And
so we had Terrence Jones. Not a lot of Brown, Smith, and Jones, because it's Brown, Smith, Jones, Johnson.
Yeah. Terrence Jones and Wawa Jones.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking the most popular surnames, it's Smith, Jones, Johnson, Brown, and I'm missing one.
Saul Smith in there. So
it's a good show when you work in a good Saul Smith reference. That's when you know you firing on all cylinders, baby.
And on that note,
we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see y'all. I don't know. Let's take next week off, and then maybe come back for the quick one 2 weeks from there.
Yeah, because it's Christmas, right?
Yeah, we have to take.
Oh
next
yeah,
year.
we're not doing this on Christmas. No, we're not doing it on Christmas.
Yeah, do a little quick one.
We'll do our end of the year recap.
Yeah. So be safe, everybody. Michelle's out there in Arizona, so she's nice and warm. Everybody, if it's cold where you are, stay warm and stay safe. And thanks to Mark's story. Thanks to the viewers. Thanks to the commenters. Appreciate everybody. TV, this is Vandy Cats Talk Wednesday. We'll be back in a couple weeks. See y'all then.